You know, I've been looking through the new Doctor Who product. These commander decks look so good and so flavorful, but trying to find the best cards for everyone, I found that all of them are blue. Hey everyone, my name's DJ. This is the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, and I'm super excited about the Doctor Who commander decks. Let's take a look at some cards that are going to fit in your blue commander decks. Starting off, we have Reverse the Polarity. 1 blue for an instant, counter all other spells. It's a bad counter spell. It's cancel. It's bad, but there's more. You can also choose to switch each creature's power and toughness until end of turn, and the last mode, creatures can't be blocked this turn. Now, I think that the creatures can't be blocked this turn is sneaky really good. I know it's good because I play Cryptic Command in a lot of different blue decks, and the tap down each opponent's creature is like a very underused, aggressive pivot to the counterspell. Because a lot of time the counterspell, you're like holding it up, you're trying to get, stop that important thing or protect your game plan. But sometimes you just need a little bit more. You need to impact the battlefield. And so making creatures unable to block is really good and doesn't just affect your own combat strategies. You can use this to team up with your opponents to try to get damage through. Switching each creature's power and toughness is very narrow, but that's why I like it kind of snuck in alongside these other two, because the other two are very reliable and switching power is not. But every so often, man, if you can use that ability, it's going to be so satisfying. Think of the wall deck. The wall deck that you just flip the power and toughness and then suddenly you board wipe a single player into oblivion. Like, Reverse the Polarity can be really solid. Let's talk about another very straightforward effect. It's Cyber Conversion. This is just a removal spell. Cyber Conversion is blue for an instant. Turn target creature face down. It's a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature. I know Cyber Conversion is good and something that I would love to play in my decks because I play Reality Shift. Blue removal can be really good, and Cyber Conversion might be even better because it just turns the creature face down. That means it can trap commanders on the battlefield. Trapping something on the battlefield can be really important, whether it's a commander or a reanimator effect where people kind of want their creatures in the graveyard, want it back to the command zone. Cyber Conversion is a solid instant speed removal spell. Next, we have another really solid effect in blue. We talked about counters, kill spells, and now we're going to talk about clones. Flesh Duplicate is blue for a creature, shapeshifter, revel. It's a 0/0, but you may have Flesh Duplicate enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has Vanishing 3, if that creature doesn't have Vanishing. Clone effects are pretty good, especially if you have a deck that synergizes nicely with it. Sometimes you have the way to have a really big creature on the battlefield, and making extra copies for very cheap can give you huge board advantage. It's also nice to hit everything on the battlefield so you can, take advantage of your other opponent's strategies. Now, the upside of Flesh Duplicate is that it is cheap. Paying only 2 mana for a clone is really good. The more mana you pay for a clone, the less advantage you get. A 4 mana clone or a 6 mana clone has to be copying a pretty big impactful creature to have you save on that mana cost. Whereas blue can just copy a utility creature. You can just capture that ETB effect and have it be really good. I know that it's good because Phantasmal Image is a great copy effect, and just being able to play it to capture that ETB or have the creature for some incidental value has been really strong in a lot of my blue decks. This one does have a big downside. Flesh Duplicate has Vanishing 3, which means the creature is going to go away. So it's not this kind of thing that's going to stay on the battlefield for forever. But a lot of times, if you're copying something with an ETB, you've gotten your value already, which is great. And then if you've copied something game-winning, then do you really need more than Vanishing 3 to take advantage of it? There might also be the angle of your opponents will let you have the creature longer than you normally would because they're not going to waste a removal spell on something that's going to go away anyways. So you might have the creature for longer just because it has Vanishing 3. Let me pause the awesome blue cards to remind you that this episode is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. When you go on over there, use the coupon code JUMBO5. That's going to save you 5% off your order. Back to the best blue cards of Doctor Who. Next up, we have Don't Blink. Don't Blink is 1 in a blue for an instant until end of turn. If 1 or more creatures would enter the battlefield from exile or after being cast from exile, their owners shuffle them into their libraries instead. it has cycling too. I really like when narrow cards have cycling because then it's never a dead card. Because this is pretty narrow. It's going to destroy your opponent's like Prosper deck, Yorion deck, Brago deck, any of those crazy blink strategies. But there's a chance that this could do nothing. One thing to note, by the way, is that your commanders played from the command zone, not from exile. Many people that maybe played commander for a really long time might remember when the command zone was exile, and so it might be confused. I had to remind myself the rules. This could have some synergies. There are cards that put your opponent's cards in exile that let them recast it. There are also cards that blink your opponent's battlefield too. So Don't Blink can have like a 1-2 punch, but that feels very gimmicky. I would much rather have this be the silver bullet against the Brago deck rather than you being cute in your own commander deck. Next up, we have quite possibly the most powerful companion. It's Adric, Mathematical Genius. 1 and a blue for a 1/1 legendary human artificer. 2 blue, tap, copy target activated or triggered ability to control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Ultimate Sacrifice. 1 and a blue, sacrifice Adric, counter target activated or triggered ability. This has a lot of utility. Copying activated and triggered abilities can be really good, although 3 mana and a tap is pretty steep in order to do that. A lot of times I've been used to paying 2 mana for that effect. The Ultimate Sacrifice, though, is pretty strong. Sometimes activated or triggered abilities are the thing that you really need to counter. This is going to be an on-board counter, but it's going to prevent people from going for those big ETB effects or those big Planeswalker ultimates. And so Adric can be that interesting tempo piece that allows you to gain advantage while threatening to counter the big play that your opponent's doing. All right, we're getting to the final 2, and this one is one of my favorites. It's the Flood of Mars. The Flood of Mars is 2 blue for a 3/3 alien zombie horror with Island Walk. Water always wins. Whenever the Flood of Mars attacks, put a flood counter on another target creature or land. If it's a creature, it becomes a copy of the Flood of Mars. If it's a land, it becomes an island in addition to its other types. So if you have a bunch of incidental medium creatures, you can start turning them into 3/3 island walkers that will then spread their flood counters everywhere, which is pretty cool. Also, you can downgrade your opponent's big relevant creatures to 3/3s with Island Walk, although they also gain the ability to spread it around. I could imagine a battlefield just full of 3/3 alien zombies everywhere, turning everything into islands, turning all creatures into 3/3s, and then having free reign to Island Walk everywhere. Of course, you're going to have more zombies and more control over how this zombie infestation spreads, so you can build up your battlefield and pressure your opponents really effectively before spreading the zombie infection everywhere else. I can see this dominating a game of Magic over multiple turns, having this card take over everything, which is kind of fun for a zombie apocalypse. I like that. The last card I'm going to showcase today is definitely one of my favorites. It's Nanogene Conversion. Nanogene Conversion is 3 and a blue for a sorcery. Choose target creature you control. Each other creature becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn, except it isn't legendary. Making copies that are not legendary is really fun because you can find great ways to synergize with your commander. There's lots of cool combos that I could definitely see happening. Not to mention, you have a token army, make them into your biggest creature and swing in an attack. Of course, when I was thinking about that plan, I realized that this turned everyone's creature into that creature. So if you make an army of huge things, your opponent's also going to have an army of huge things. Of course, then that had me thinking, well, what happens if I turn everything into like a Hydra? Let's say I'm going like Hydra tribal, like blue-green Hydras. I've got a bunch of 0/0s with +1/+1 counters on them. I can turn my whole team into 0/0s and be just fine because the counters keep them alive, but then have it be a one-sided board wipe. All of my opponent's creatures become 0/0s with no counters on them, having them all instantly die, and then maybe I'll get some cool incidental effect from the Hydra that I've created. I don't know. I can see a ton of great opportunities for Nanogene Conversion and fun, big, over-the-top plays, doing broken stuff that a lot of times we just don't see coming. So tricky cards that have splashy synergies are exactly what I'm looking forward to playing in Commander. So I think that we have the range of cards here. We have everything from the counter spell, the removal spell, the clone, and to crazy stuff like a zombie infestation and a mass conversion. This Doctor Who set is looking really fun, and so I'm excited to explore even more cards that are going to fit into my Commander deck. If you're looking to pick up some of these blue singles, you should check out Cool Stuff Inc. They're the sponsor of the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, and when you do, use the coupon code JUMBO5 because that's going to save you 5% on your order. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're excited about Doctor Who. I certainly am. And stay tuned because I'm going to be talking more about the newest best cards for your Commander deck. Have a good one. Bye-bye.